That's right. We've been told by Democratic Party officials that they will have a security guard here on duty. They will also be calling on Capitol Police for backup if they need it. With the crowds expected tonight, the party headquarters are already been decked out with Harris wall signs and with refreshments and food. Again, they're expecting a crowd to start pouring in here after the polls close tonight at 7. But in the meantime, they're having to deal with problems at the polls. Joining us now is Mikkel Boldin. She is the executive director of the Mississippi Democratic Party. Ms. Boldin, tell us about some of the problems you're hearing and what you've been dealing with this morning.
Yeah, so some of the problems and issues that we've been facing, you have voters who have been registered to vote who are being refused affidavit ballots. You also have affidavit ballots that are running out at precincts, as well as you have Trump supporters going to the precincts and actually being able to vote.
So and I know you say you've been getting calls from all over the state. Any specific locations where those problems are happening that you just mentioned?
So, and for the affidavit ballots where they ran out, that was in Jackson County, but they are resolving the issue as we speak right now. And most of them, Hinds County, you have had voters who were turned away, as well as in Canton, Mississippi, which is Madison County.
So what do you do? What are you guys doing to make sure that voters who were turned away, will these voters have a chance to at least cast a provisional or affidavit ballot?
Yes, so with that, we have been in contact with those voters who have called into our hotline, which is 833-336-8683. And they've reached out to us, and we've made sure that they spoke with the attorney, as well as trying to get someone there to troubleshoot the situation at a rapid time.
And I know the Democratic Party also has close to 300 poll watchers who are at polling places across the state. What are you hearing from those folks?
So those poll watchers, they're calling in, giving us vote counts, as well as letting us know about the affidavit ballots that have been filled out. So we're keeping count of those who are able to fill those out, those who are not able to fill those out, and also just redirecting them so that the voter themselves can be helped.
And again, tell us quickly, what is that hotline for someone to call if they want to register a complaint with the party?
Yes, so that's 833-336-8683.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, that's what we're hearing from the Mississippi Democratic Party, with problems with some voters not being able to cast provisional ballots, and also questions about whether they're getting fair treatment at the polling place. For now, we're live in Jackson. Ross Adams, 16 WAPT News.
Ross, thank you. And on the other side of the aisle, the Republicans are hard at work as we speak, working to get voters out and marshal resources for the election countdown. 16 WABT's Scott Simmons is live at the Republican headquarters in Jackson with more on that. Scott.
Yeah, we're here at Republican headquarters where staffers have been working the phone, checking on the voter turnout. Joining me now is U.S. Senator Roger Wicker, of course, is in a race in this election. And what do you think really defines this election in your eyes?
I think the people, they see what happened during the 4 years of Donald Trump's administration and then this last 4 years of Harris and Biden, and they see a distinction. So to me, the voters of Mississippi, and I hope around the country, want to see us take care of the border again, stop the flow of millions of illegals coming in. We have no idea who they are or where they've been or what they've done. And also, they've been worried about inflation, and it was directly caused by those trillion-dollar bills that the Biden-Harris administration foisted off on the American people during the first of that term.
As you've talked to voters preparing for this election day, what do you think are the most defining issues in this race for the U.S. Senate?
Well, I think it is the fact that Vice President Harris can't think of one single thing she would do differently from President Biden. I mean, she was asked that over and over. She still can't think of a thing, and yet she's telling the public, the American public, that we need to turn the page and we need a new day. Well, a new day and a better day would be to reject the Bidenomics policies of the last 4 years and the open border policies. So to me, that's what people in Mississippi are thinking about. And I think it's why we have such long lines around the state. We're hearing great reports from the coast, from central Mississippi and up north. It's going to be a big turnout. I don't know if it'll be the biggest we've ever had, but I think people are voting, and they're voting on issues.
So if you get another 6 years in office for Senate, you would tackle, you say, immigration first. Would that be number one?
Well, my job would be through my committee, and I would have an opportunity to be chairman of the Armed Services Committee. And I laid out a plan, a 50-page package some months ago about 21st century peace through strength, returning to the policies of Ronald Reagan when we backed the Soviet Union down because we were so strong, nobody wanted to take us on. And so that will be my main job. Of course, yes, I want to help whoever is president close the border down, return to this remain in Mexico policy that we had during the Trump administration. If someone came asking for asylum, we actually got the socialist government of Mexico to agree they would keep those applicants in Mexico until we have time to look at it. I think we'll return to that if we have a change in Washington.
All right, thanks a lot, U.S. Senator Roger Wicker. We're live tonight at Republican headquarters, counting down to the polls close at 7.